Oh no. Okay. Can everybody see that? I'm just gonna assume that you can. Deanne, can you see that?
Yes, we see it.
Okay, great. So cool, everybody. So I'm Sarah Ortiz Shields. I went to college with Deanne at NMSU. Go Aggies. And I just wanted to say hello and really talk to you about how I came to be, which I believe is sort of an unusual path that I got started on a little bit later in life. So, hello. So growing up, my family was pretty involved in the local community. My mom would wake us up at like 4 or 5 o'clock on the weekends, and we would go and work at the local soup kitchens. And we would go to the grocery stores and we would gather the food that wasn't going to be used, and then we would take that to the soup kitchen and make food for people. So growing up, I always had this sense of, you know, working for my community, being in my community and helping them. And so that was instilled in me at a very young age. Also, my parents were very civically engaged. You know, they voted in every election. Politics was definitely something that we talked about in my household. And I remember when I turned 18, my mom probably marched me down and registered me to vote. And I didn't really at the time understand the implications of that. So, you know, I didn't understand the difference between a Democrat and a Republican and an independent. How are you supposed to know those things when you're 18 years old? So, not knowing those things, I went ahead and registered as an independent. Had no idea what that meant. And I remember my mom is probably still mad at me to this day. I signed a petition for something that needed only registered Democrats, and she didn't know that I had registered as an independent. And then it caused this like huge hubbub in my hometown of Mesilla, where the candidate was audited because an independent had signed their petition, and then that turned out to be me. It was this huge drama in Mesilla, New Mexico, because I didn't understand anything about politics, which is fine because, you know, I don't think that we grew up understanding a lot about politics. So this is just a super fun picture of me in high school. If anybody sees me, I'm right here in the middle center. But I was always like a little bit involved in, like, you know, what was going on in my community, what was happening in politics. I probably voted. I may have voted in primaries. Who knows? I just don't remember because it wasn't an important part of my life. In college, Deanne will remember this, I did run for president as part of my college's ASNMSU, Associated Students of New Mexico State University, and I lost by a handful of votes. And honestly, I think I was running on a dare, and the person that won was Bill McCamley, who is now one of your House representatives for the state of New Mexico. So I'm really glad that both of us actually ended up working in civics, because I would have been a terrible president in college. I probably had no platform. I didn't know what I was doing, but it was a fun experience for me. So I graduated from NMSU with my degree in communications, and then I had a bunch of jobs. I ended up working in advertising for 7 years, mostly as a production designer. I admit to the fact that I am a great production designer and not a good designer. I can follow directions to a T and I can make changes, but if you ask me to do anything creative, that is not really my bag. So working in advertising, it was great. And I eventually moved into project management roles, which was far better suited to me. But you know, I was working crazy hours. I was working 50, 60-hour work weeks. And it was super high paced and stressful and just a super crazy environment, just working all the time. And I learned a lot, and I was able to learn from account management and engineering and design and the clients. And so that all added to my like wealth of knowledge and what I was bringing to my team, but it was not really fulfilling. You know, I was working on, for a long time, I worked on UPS. And so I know an extraordinary amount about shipping. For a long time, I worked on a client for Blue Cross Blue Shield, so I knew a lot about insurance. But these things weren't really rewarding for me. And so I was able to fill this gap by doing a lot of volunteering in my community. So I was a volunteer for a long time with the Austin Independent School District, where I would mentor a child. I was a judge for the Austin Science Fair, and then I was a mentor with an organization called the Seedling Foundation. So I was able to fill this sort of like void that I had that I wasn't getting from my work career in my personal life by doing volunteerism with these other organizations. So it all sort of, working advertising. So it all kind of came to a breaking point in, it was Valentine's Day of 2015. And I was at work at my agency, and I was working on these videos that we were creating, these small business videos that we were creating for UPS. And it was Valentine's Day. And here in Austin, we have this place that will deliver you warm cookies called Tiff's Treats. And so everybody was getting Tiff's Treats, like all throughout the day. All of the desks had just like boxes of Tiff's Treats on them. And so people went home for the day. They went to dinner with their loved ones, and here I am just working like my 65 hours a week, trying to like organize this small business video. And I'm sitting at my desk, and my cubicle mate had gotten a box of cookies from her boyfriend, and I'm just like eating her cookies at like 9:30 at night and working, and I'm the last one in the office on Valentine's Day, and I thought, oh my God, there has got to be a different life for me. Like I cannot live this life anymore where I'm working these crazy hours and eating my coworkers' Valentine's Day cookies at 9:30 at night. So I decided that I would leave. And when I decided I would leave, I decided that the thing that I wanted to do next was to enter the software field. So that's what I did. I began to look for a position that would let me learn how to practice as a project manager in a new methodology called Agile instead of Waterfall, which is what we had been using in advertising. And I didn't know what I was doing, you know. This was a new methodology for me. This was a new way to manage teams and to manage work, and software was also very new to me too. You know, I had been working on large campaigns that included video and advertising and banners, not software development that was all code-based where we pushed code every week. Like, these were all new terms to me. But I was able to find a job at a bank that was willing to train me and to let me learn this new methodology. And then I spent the next 5 years working in software, which was really exciting for me. But I kept on going back to that same problem where, you know, I wasn't really feeling a connection to the work. I wanted to really understand and know that the work that I was doing was benefiting my community. And periodically, I was able to work on something that was really exciting. So this is something that I worked on for the World Wildlife Foundation. Oh, and look, here's my bear in the background. And I worked on this thing for Earth Day, and they sent me this huge bear present, and it was really wonderful. So periodically, I had the opportunity to something that made me feel really good about the work that I was doing. But those were really far and in between. So I was sort of like chugging along at this job, maybe doing some volunteering, maybe paying attention to local politics, but like not really involved in my local community. And then came along Wendy Davis. So I'm not sure who's familiar with Wendy Davis, but here in Texas, she was this like sort of force that 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 came into at least my political view in 2014 when she was running for governor. So I was like, you know what? I like her. She really resonates with me. I'm gonna go do some door knocking for her, which is not something that I had ever done before. Like doing door knocking for a political candidate, like totally not something that I was ever interested in. But I thought, you know what? I'm gonna go. I'll go do some door knocking, and it'll be fine. And so I did. And then I did more door knocking, and then more door knocking. And then eventually I became a community leader for Austin's East Side, and I had an entire territory. And I thought, well, you know what? This is really great. This type of work really is speaking to my soul. I'm getting people organized in their community. I'm able to make a direct impact on my community and raise awareness of politics. And this is when I really started learning about the political process, not only in Texas, but really in America, because up until this point, I hadn't really paid attention. So as we all know, or maybe don't know, Wendy Davis did not win. And so after she didn't win, I just sort of went back to my normal life. I was working at Under Armour at the time. I was running a team of about 20 people, and I just went back to that life. And and then somebody, a friend of mine, said, you know what, there's this opportunity that I think that you should apply for. And it was for the first cohort of Design, Technology, and Innovation Fellows at the City of Austin. And the job description was, we're taking people that have worked in technology that want to work for their community and make a difference for Austinites. And it required an essay, like several essay questions, and the application was very long. And I thought, you know what, like I don't want to do this. I was heading out on vacation for like a couple of weeks to see a couple of people. I thought, you know, I'll apply for it when I get back if I don't forget. So I'm on vacation. I'm in Washington, D.C. and I checked my email that night, and I got an email from the City of Austin, and it said, okay, applications are due at midnight tonight. If you want to apply, you need to apply tonight. And so I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna apply. I'm gonna just pound out an essay about why I want to work here, and I'm just gonna apply. Like, it can't hurt. I'm on vacation, I'm feeling like really relaxed. I'm just gonna apply. And lo and behold, I got an interview. So I honestly didn't think that I was gonna get an interview, because I don't even remember actually applying for the position. So I got the interview, and then I ultimately was offered the job. But this was a really, really difficult decision for me. So I hated my job, right? I didn't have any joy in my position, but I had a 401k, I had time off, I had a standing desk, I had an espresso machine, I had catered lunch. I had all of these things that were so wonderful that come with the perks of having this tech job. And the City of Austin, you know, it came with nothing. It was an hourly job that did not pay well. It didn't come with health care. It didn't come with days off. It was all new people. It was only a year-long program. So after a year of being in this program, I would have been unemployed. And so I had these two things. I had my cushy job at Under Armour that I was not happy with, that had free lunches every day and, you know, giant discounts on Under Armour gear. And then I had this other thing that was really new and scary, but it was going to allow me to be deeply embedded with my community and build products for the community that would help them. So, you know, I had this really difficult decision to make. And I talked to my friends, I talked to my family, and almost every single person, all of my friends at Under Armour, all of them told me no. They all said, Sarah, you're 35. This is a bad decision. Don't leave your job with time off and your 401k and your regular paycheck to go and work for some place where you're going to have to get paid by the hour and not have any insurance. This is a bad decision. And then in a year, you'll be unemployed and you'll be right back at Under Armour. And my one friend who had sent me the job description, she said, you know what? You need to go for this. I realize how miserable you are here and you're not happy, and you just need to take this job and see where it goes. Her name was Brittany, and I'm forever thankful to her. So I joined the city of Austin as a fellow, or as the mayor liked to call us, the interns. So this was a really wonderful program for me. It was super scary because I had gone from this place where like the coffee and the LaCroix were just like flowing like water, mountains, oceans of LaCroix and free snacks just for everybody to eat and drink, to a place where I regularly had to pay a quarter for coffee every day. So that was this like stark difference in not only the work that I was doing, but in the community around the work. And so it was it was a lot shocking for me to go into this environment where, where I was working at this public entity and everything was open, because I was not used to that. And it was really weird and scary. So I ended up going to the city, and I knew it was going to be great because all of the time leading up into this, I had been looking for a role where I felt like my actions were going to make an impact. And I knew that I had this passion for technology, and I didn't know where to take it. And it turns out the way that I needed to go was to take action through technology in a civic-minded lens. And so I was able to find that working at the city of Austin. The project that I ended up working on was working for a year on residential permitting, which I won't get into, but it was a very complex, in-depth project. Happy to talk to you about it after this. But I really got to interact with residents, with city employees, and understand the issues that are underneath that first layer of city personnel, and understand what those underlying issues were, and really understand city government very well, which I knew nothing about. Working for the city also allowed me a more personal engagement with my community. And I had the opportunity to work on projects that had a direct impact on the city of Austin, myself included, and it was very rewarding. I learned a lot, and it was something that I never would have had the opportunity to have learned if I had stayed at Under Armour. So it was so great, and this risk paid off for me. And I think about that all the time. I think about every time somebody asks me to come and speak at an event, or when I talk about how I had this pivotal transition in my life, sort of later on in life, about how I'm so happy in the work that I'm doing now. And I think about the work that I was doing 5 years ago, and I'm so glad that I took that huge risk, and I really found my calling in what I wanted to do in taking civics and tech into the work that I'm doing now. So let's talk about what I'm doing now. So let's talk about civic hacking. Civic hacking is a force extender for local and regional government. So I know that this means nothing to you right now, but let's talk about civic hacking. Civic hacking is people working together quickly and creatively to make their cities better for everyone. And anyone can be a civic hacker. So we're talking about iterating quickly and interdisciplinary and working together to solve problems for our community. Not like asking your grandparents to install some weird virus from Russia on their phone. That's not the definition of civic hacking. And anybody can be a civic hacker. I'm sure there's a bunch of you right now that are civic hackers. If you are a person, if you are a designer, a researcher, an engineer, and you have been thinking about this has been a crazy year, coronavirus, election, all of these other things, how can I make a difference in my government, either at a federal or a local level? You can be a civic hacker. And it's so exciting for people to realize that you can actually make a difference in the world using your skill set that you have right now. Happy to talk about this more, and I'm going to give you some resources at the end too. So working at the city really made me realize my potential and my understanding that I am a civic hacker. So after I left the city, I hooked up with this organization called Austin Tech Alliance. Austin Tech Alliance is a nonpartisan nonprofit that advocates for civic engagement in Austin's tech sector. So I joined them to run one of their programs that was working in conjunction with the city of Austin to transition their paper forms into online services. So when you want to go and fill out previously when you would have filled out a paper form, that form is now online. It saved time, energy, money, personnel, et cetera, et cetera. And I've been here for 3 years now. Now I'm the executive director and I love it. I'm able to register people to vote. I'm able to talk about my story. I'm able to talk about policy both at a state and a local level with tons and tons of people. And I'm able to really talk about my story and how impassioned I am about it and hopefully excite other people into thinking, oh, you know what, maybe a career at the city or a career in civics isn't that terrible. It never has occurred to me, but maybe this could be fun. So that's where I am now. This is just me doing some outreach. How exciting. I've had the opportunity to meet so many people, legislators, both at a state and a local level, and a federal level too. It's just really been super rewarding for me that I took this really scary risk and to see how far I've progressed just in the past 4 years. So I wanted to give you guys some resources. I did a little bit of digging last night on Bernalillo County, and your early voting has begun, y'all. So your early voting began last week and it runs through 10/31. I hope everybody is registered to vote and that you go and vote. You can find locations and more information at burncovotes.org. Do your research before you head to the polls. You go and visit a nonpartisan site to do your research, like vote411.org. And when I say nonpartisan, not everybody knows what that word means. Nonpartisan means a site that doesn't advocate for either side of the aisle, so Democrats or Republicans or independents. They're just providing information that isn't affiliated with a party. This is something I talk about a lot. There's no straight party voting in New Mexico or in Texas. So make sure you vote for all of the down ballot races. Down ballot races are the races that are on your ballot that aren't like the governor or the president or the vice president. These are people that are your representatives on a local level, like judges, city council, commissioners. These are the people that actually work for you, and they're super important. We had a race in Texas a couple of years ago that was won by 15 votes. 15 votes, y'all. So that's like the people that are here. You could have made that decision about who was representing you in your community. I always encourage people to write down this phone number. If you have problems at the polls, this is a national help phone number. Call this phone number. Just write it down. Write it down on a piece of paper when you're writing down who you're going to vote for. It's available in 4 languages. And then, of course, election day is November 3rd. I would highly encourage people to not wait until November 3rd to vote. We're having record turnout nationally for voting. And so if you can vote early, I highly recommend that you do. And then if you want to get involved, here's some places that you can volunteer with. Common Cause is an organization that provides poll watchers at the polls. And these are official poll watchers at the polls. So you go, you apply, you take a training, and you're there watching for fights or for people that are wearing partisan shirts or hats or whatever, because they're not supposed to be there. The League of Women Voters of New Mexico, they're a great organization. They're also a nonpartisan organization, and they issue vote411.org, which is a great resource for researching and finding out candidates. And then the Code for America Brigade is a brigade of civic hackers that work on projects there in your Albuquerque community in partnership maybe with the government and sometimes in partnership with local nonprofits. I was part of our Code for America Brigade here in Austin for a long time, and it really allowed me to learn a lot about my community and to meet more civic-minded tech people. If you would like to sign up to be an election watcher or observer, you can sign up for that at your Secretary of State site. And then go and vote. Grab your family, your friends, your mask, and head out during early voting. Yeah, so that's really my story about how I started in advertising and moved into tech and then moved into civics. And I'm really happy now. And I just wanted to share that all with you guys. Does anybody have any questions? And please keep in touch. This is my my website, and it has my contact information, my LinkedIn, and a little bit more about me.
So I went ahead and allowed everybody to talk instead of putting your Q&As in the questions, go ahead and say what you want to say. Ask Sarah questions.
Oh, great.
Hey, Sarah. In order to be a poll worker, do you have to be registered in the county where you do that?
In Texas, you do. I would
Okay.
assume it's the same in Bernalillo, but I'm not sure. But if you want to be a poll worker, you can work the county in which you're registered. Like
I cannot, as I live in New Mexico and am registered in Florida as a military spouse.
okay.
That's just like a little far.
So for you,
I was wondering if there's a different way to get involved.
Yeah, so I would recommend going to the League of Women Voters website. They will have non-state volunteer opportunities. So for instance, this Friday, I'm volunteering with the League of Women Voters to go pass out water to people that are standing in line waiting to vote. So that would be a good opportunity for you because you don't need to be registered to vote in the county. You're just there as a volunteer providing like a concierge service to people that are waiting so they don't like pass out because it's still 90 degrees here.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hey, Sarah, this is Gabe.
Hi,
What would
Gabe.
you say is your, thank you again for sharing all your insights today. I guess I'm curious kind of like what can we do as like media and communications professionals, even in our own sphere of influence, how can we kind of be advocates in our own organizations? I'm just curious on your thoughts there.
Yeah, I mean, on a civic level, you can just really become involved and better understand why that impacts you. So something that I didn't understand until I started working on this world is that policy at a state and a city level really affects people on an individual level. So, you know, pay attention to what your city council is doing. They might pass something that has to do with, you know, tax breaks for a huge company coming to Albuquerque, or they might, you know, pass something that has to do with, you know, public transportation. So here in Austin, there's a huge proposition on the ballot for this fall to build a rail system in Austin. That's something that affects you, that you can learn about, that you can then advocate for or against, and just tell people. So helping people get involved in the political process in a meaningful way where they can see the outcomes is the best way that I've been able to show this. So not saying, oh, you should pay attention to Proposition B, but saying, oh, you should read about Proposition B because it's going to cut your commute in half because we'll have a rail line. So try and relate things to what the benefits, or if there is no benefit, about why that thing is important. It's going to take some research on your end, though, because advocacy always does.
Thanks, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah. My name is Christina. I run a creative agency in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And I know. We are getting a lot of jobs that are focused more in the political realm, and we find that the work is really rewarding. But I want to see if you have any like tips or suggestions on how our creative team can better facilitate the needs of some of the clients that we're working with.
Your political clients?
Yes, correct.
You know, I mean, I guess I would just educate them on, I mean, just people just need good design, right? Like I look at a lot of political websites and they're just, a lot of them just aren't good. And I'm sure that if they're coming to you, you're going to create something for them that's beautiful. And so I would just encourage you to always put first the benefit that they're providing to the community, because that's what people want to know. People go to the websites either to donate, to volunteer, or to understand about a candidate, what they're going to do for the community. So those three things really need to be top of mind. You want to give money, you want to do some door knocking for somebody, or you're ready to make a decision and write down your ballot selection so that you can go and vote tomorrow. And you want to know exactly what that person does. A lot of times I see that it's hidden. So there's an about section, there's like a picture with your family, but like what people need to see and how they're going to make a decision is really those policy initiatives. Like, what are your policy initiatives? What are you advocating for? And how does that make you different from this other person?
Great. Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
Is that it?
Any other questions, anybody? All right. Well, thank you so much, Sarah, for doing this for us. We're super grateful. Much appreciated.
Well, thanks for having me. This was by far the most beautiful event promo I've ever had. So thank you, advertising executives and designers and whoever else is here, and Deanne and Gabe, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thanks everybody for joining us. We'll see you next time.
And please connect with me if you have any further questions or if you just want to.
Thanks all.